So Tolbert just walked in the room. Dr. Hesse and Gail are on the phone. In the room here we have Dr. Amada, C-Ray, Dr. Yutzi, Martha, and then myself, Jonathan. We do have quorum with our board members, and we'll also allow Marthaline an opportunity to call in or arrive in person as she sees fit. And we can actually get started with our board meeting now. I will call us to order at 5:35 p.m. Thank you everyone for arriving. Thank you everyone for being on time. And our goal is to have a quick meeting, just kind of voting on some action items. And then we do have people who are traveling tonight, and also Dr. Yutzi and Dr. Amada have an early morning tomorrow to travel to NAU. So we'll try to keep this meeting as concise as possible, but we still want to address any issues that may come up. So we'll have time for that as well. With that, Martha, could you open the floor?
Yes, thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord God, for this wonderful day that you have blessed us with, Father. We thank you for the challenges and the successes that were rendered unto us today, Lord God. We thank you for the knowledge and the wisdom and understanding that you have bestowed upon us as well, Father, within those experiences. Lord God, we thank you for bringing us here safely, Father, to this place that is known as the San Carlos Tribal Council Hall, Father. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to get together as the San Carlos Apache College Board of Regents, Lord God, and for the administrators as well to join us, Dr. Amada and Dr. Yutzi and Celestine, Lord God. We thank you for blessing them, Father, and allowing them to be a part of this meeting with us. We thank you for those that are appearing telephonically as well, Lord God, in the comfort of their own offices or homes, Father. And we thank you for those that are not able to join us today, Lord God, but we know, Lord God, that you have been merciful to them as well. Lord God, we pray that you continue to be with us, Lord God, and strengthen our minds, our bodies, our souls, and our spirits, Lord God, and the many roles and responsibilities that we have, Lord God, thus far in our lives, Father. We pray that you continue to be with us as we continue on with our roles and responsibilities to build up the San Carlos Apache College, Lord God, a blessing that you have given unto the San Carlos Apache people. Lord Father, we pray that you continue, Lord God, to be with each and every one of us as we continue to build up those building blocks, Lord God, to make it more successful, Lord God, for our students, Lord God, and allow us to be able to take on, Lord God, the challenge as well in building up, Lord God, the services that our people do need, Father, in order to be successful students, Lord God, and graduating with their associate's degree and their certificates, Lord God, in the schoolings that we have offered. Lord God, I pray that you continue, Lord God, to be with our families as they're away from us, Lord God, and continue to bless each and every one of us as we continue on throughout the rest of today, Lord God, and be merciful to those that will be traveling as well, Lord God. And return us all home safely at the end of the day, Lord God. And we give you praise, honor, and glory. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Martha. Yeah, okay, I was gonna do that too. Siri, would you do the roll call, please?
Okay. Martha Interpreter Baelish.
Here.
Jonathan Clark.
Here.
Tolbert Massey.
Here.
Gail Patchouli.
Here.
And Marthaline is not here, so there is a quorum.
Perfect, thank you, Siri. And then Dr. Hesse and Gail, do you guys hear us okay? Do we need to speak up, speak down?
I've been able to hear, thank you.
Yeah, I can hear everybody breathing, so I'm okay.
That would be me. I'm the closest, I think.
Okay, perfect. Please take a look at the agenda. Did you receive the electronic packet, Gail and Dr. Hesse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, perfect. If you want to take a look at the agenda and see if there's any changes or revisions or additions we'd like to make for the reports portion, I will just add a note that those have been disseminated, so we don't necessarily have to go through them tonight unless there are questions on the reports specifically, and we can definitely go through those. Is there anything else that we would like to amend the agenda to?
Chair, I would like to add to the announcements as 4C, or in the area of the section 4, announcement about Friday's holiday, the holiday that the tribe, the Easter holiday the tribe has approved. The TO Nation has done the same. TOCC has acknowledged it and will be closed this Friday. And so we will be doing the same. In other words, we will honor the holiday, even though our academic calendar has it. It's the last day for withdrawal. The students can still withdraw online. And so I just wanted to make sure that I'm able to, that it's in there as an announcement. That's too important to oversee.
Okay, perfect. We've added that to the agenda as 4C. Anything else? All right, not hearing any, can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the recommended change?
Motion.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? And all abstain, motion passed 3-0-0. Okay, so the reports portion of the agenda, the president's report that was sent out earlier when we had our normally scheduled meeting, but it's also in our packets. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look it over, or if you have questions from when you looked it over, let's go ahead and address them, and we'll turn to Dr. Amato with any questions that we have about the president's report.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Just considering, as you had made mention, due to time of members of the board, I recommend that the questions be reserved to the next regular board meeting of the president's report, and also the budgetary report and the vice president's report. I believe that these reports do have some information in it that may extend into time beyond what we have today. And I've noted some questions which I'll reserve for the next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Okay. We do have a suggestion of holding our questions for both the president's report, the budget report, and also the vice president's report for our next scheduled meeting, given our time constraints tonight. Would you like to make that a motion, Martha? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to reserve our questions. Second by Tolbert. All in favor of tabling questions until the next board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those who abstain? Okay, motion will pass 3-0-0. That will cover the second portion of our agenda. The third portion, new business, 3A, Dr. Yutzi?
Sure. Roll your shoulders, sure, you have to go like that again. Okay, so 2 amendments or changes to the academic calendar that was approved for this current academic year. And this is the calendar that actually ends in August. At our last regularly scheduled board meeting, the board approved the calendar for all of next year, fall, spring, and summer. And on that calendar, the board approved the 5-week session, as well as making Apache Independence Day an official holiday. So the purpose of these 2 amendments are simply to amend this upcoming summer's calendar to reflect those things. TOCC is already aware that there's kind of an intention to do this. The schedule for the summer is complete, but it does contain some courses in the 5-week session. So I was waiting until this gets approved so that we can release the whole schedule, so that students we'll have some more options when they register. So that was the purpose of this.
Martha?
Yes, Jonathan, I motion to approve the recommended calendar for 2017-2018 as presented by Dr. Yutzi, adding in the summer 5-week sessions as denoted in the calendar.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve. And we have a second. So all in favor of approving the calendar to include Apache Independence Day and also the 5-week summer sessions to the academic calendar for 2017 and 2018, please say aye.
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 Those who oppose and those who abstain, motion passes 3-0-0. Thank you, everyone. Next item 3B, I'll turn it back to Dr. Yutzi again.
According to Google Map.
I know, it's not it.
That's cool. Okay, so this is the approval for the dual enrollment memorandum of agreement. This was a little complicated because it's a 3-way agreement. It's already been, this is basically the agreement that TOCC already uses for its current agreements, with SCAC's role sort of added in. So everything that's on this list already exists, it's just that TOCC takes on those functions for their particular agreements. I know it's somewhat long, it's very detailed, but I think it does lay out the responsibilities of the various parties, so that there's never any question of, whose job it is to, take care of that part of things. And compared to my experience with dual credit at Dene College, it's a little bit more collaborative with the high school than those particular MOUs were. And I sort of like that, where there's sort of a, let's talk about what is necessary and then make those decisions, as opposed to the college, kind of just taking all of the ownership for that and saying, well, this is what we're gonna offer, so, and I like that, considering it's a new program. It's not even a concern at this point, it's just kind of an observation. It is sometimes difficult to get speedy responses from the staff at the secondary school. So I've been somewhat aggressive in, we're gonna have a meeting soon, we need to sit down and really talk, because once this really gets going, there are going to be certain weeks where communication needs to be constant, especially right around registration time. So I do have that's my only concern so far going into it, is that just, I know the amount of work it will take. TOCC knows the amount of work it will take, and I think the Unified School District knows the amount of work that it will take, but I'm still trying to build that relationship with them so that, we have really quick ways of getting in touch with each other and kind of resolving things.
Are there any questions for Dr. Yutzi concerning the memorandum of agreement between TOCC, SCAC, and SCA Unified School District?
It's too many letters.
Yeah.
I see this is this only geared to St. Carlos? Or is
Good question.
Globe and Fort Thomas or
Those are-
Miami eligible to?
Okay, so each agreement with each school district will be separate. I thought that this one was the most important one because it's, it's local. Dr. Amada and I did meet out at Fort Thomas. This was a long time ago now. This was last semester, and it was kind of thrown out as an idea for the future. And even at that meeting, I said, I want to get this one first. I've also been contacted through our work with the detention center. I might get some of these details wrong, but I believe that Gila County runs the GED program, or at least the high school program in the detention center. So that the assistant superintendent of the Gila County School Board serves as the principal for the high school at the detention center, or something very close to that. That's his relationship. So when he and I, and Myron Moses and a few other people had a meeting about working with the detention center, allowing students to take online classes with us, the assistant superintendent of that school district was very interested in doing a dual credit partnership, both for the student inmates and then more broadly for other places in the district. And at the time, I just said, just wait, let us let us get this one in place first, because then this gives us a very good model. Because once this is approved, we can basically sit down with them and say, well, this is what one of our agreements looks like. What might be different with our agreement? Is there room for negotiation? So I just felt this one was the most important, but I think it makes sense to reach out, especially as we get certain classes on the books, like for example, the Apache History and Culture class, which we're working on getting on the books. That would be a transferable history course. There's all kinds of positive ways we can market that course all over the place. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be the only one. I just think symbolically, I think it's the most important one to do first.
Okay, are there any other questions about the MOU?
I just have one more. I know it says it here in this number 7. Is there an age limit that they can start at? Or they just have to be high school students?
They have to be high school students. There are forms that parents fill out for underage students. And I believe even though it usually would start at 16,
Yeah.
there are even ways of getting around that with, but there's a permission process to make that happen. And I know, Dr. Amanda, I don't know if it was at a board meeting, but at a meeting recently, you asked the question, where do you see dual credit now and 3 years from now? Do you remember? Who were we talking to? Okay, we were talking to somebody and he asked me that, and I had to think of it in the moment because we were like in a public meeting, and I said, well, 3 years from now, it would be great if our dual credit program allowed a pathway for at least some students to leave high school with some kind of a credential, right? Whether that's a certificate in social services. It's sort of difficult to do a full associate's degree. It's not impossible. But providing some pathway so that students, when they graduate, have something really substantive that they can take with them, that's kind of high quality. I think in the short term, because we want this to be a quality program, I'd like us to start somewhat small. Let's identify some logical courses that we would offer. Let's really work with the instructors. Let's have a really strong start, and then kind of branch out into thinking about possible programs or concentration areas for students.
Perfect. And I just have one quick question, Dr. Yutzi. For 5K, 1 and 2, is that intentionally left blank?
Are those the liaisons?
Yes.
Okay, I actually, and I apologize that it wasn't in the board packet, I did email everyone, this was was it yesterday? I finally got the names yesterday.
Okay.
And so in the version, in the email, it has their names, and it would be Susan Poole, who's the high school principal, and then the other person is the counselor, and her name is, it begins with an M. I can tell you in just a minute. Yeah, I actually only got those names yesterday, so
Okay,
that's
no,
why
I mean, as long as,
here it is,
know
I
that.
found it. The other person is, and I actually got that person's email address, and I'm gonna reach out to her right away. So it is,
Misty Grossup?
yeah, that's her name, Misty, I'm just trying to get the spelling right. I know I got it right in. Misty Grossup. And, and actually, we need to make the correction, she's actually the counselor, not the principal. So
Okay.
I'll need to fix that too. The secondary school counselor, Misty Grossup.
Perfect. Any other questions about the MOU?
Chairman Clark, this is Jacob.
Yes, Jacob? Welcome.
My apologies for jumping on the call late, so can we start over again? To the agreement, I'm just curious, is DOCC currently doing this with Bobby Kiwi?
With who?
With Bobby Kiwi?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, in fact, this sample one, the agreement that I edited on top of was that agreement. They have it with 1 or 2 other schools, I believe, but yeah, that's the one they shared as like the model example.
Okay, so I apologize if you already covered it, but it's good to know that they've already, have done this before,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it better.
Yeah.
Good.
And just from my personal perspective, the way TOCC is doing this, we struggled with dual credit at Diné College for a lot of different reasons, to the point where at least when I left, it was on hiatus. I wasn't satisfied with the way it was going. It's my understanding that now they're hiring a coordinator to fix everything. But TOCC, their dual credit coordinator is awesome. Danny, I can't remember his last name right now. He's visited with us, and we actually chatted because he's actually learned from some of the problems Diné College had, because he's aware, because they all talk, amongst each other. And so I was really impressed when I met with Danny, because he's
very good.
he's on top of things, and he he basically guaranteed that at least he has a grant and some other things, but we should be able to do this for free for students this coming fall. The only thing that will need to be purchased is textbooks, that's the only, that the state won't refund costs for textbooks. The school district's aware of this, and there might be some creative ways that we can help to make that happen. I've heard that the higher ed department might be able to help in that way as well, but I haven't had the chance to reach out yet.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Martha?
Yeah, just in regards to what Dr. Yitzi had concluded with, is in regards to the fee waivers. I do see in section 3B that a tuition schedule for dual enrollment costs will be made available at the beginning of the academic year, and TOCC will cover the cost of tuition if funding permits. Now, it's my understanding TOCC already waives the tuition for their dual enrollment program. This agreement says that they'll waive it if funding permits. Why isn't there a clause for SCAC to waive, to have that responsibility to waive the tuition as well?
We will be our students will be treated no differently than TOCC students. They need to be listed as TOCC students because TOCC receives the state refund as an accredited institution of higher ed. That's why the language is that way. TOCC says that exact same thing. It's not a guarantee, of course, because obviously the state could decide to not fund programs. But TOCC, through state funding and also through a grant that Danny works on, will, if they can support TOCC students, we'll be supporting our students as well, as the same. There won't be a difference between the students.
Okay, so should there be a subsection 2 that SCAC will cover the cost of tuition?
We don't have the money to do that. It will be TOCC's money that it receives from the state that will be reimbursing the tuition when it receives the money. And then TOCC will send us back the percentage of the tuition, which is what, 20, can't remember whether it's 28 or 72 or 75. Is it 72 for tuition?
For tuition, 72.
It's 72.
72%.
TOCC will then refund, that's the way it works. So the money from the state goes to TOCC.
Okay, so that's what that clause
Yeah.
is referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, in regards to the, section 4, the SCUSD role, the San Carlos Unified School District role.
Yeah.
Now, are these standard roles for high schools
Yes.
and other institutions?
Mhm.
And the San Carlos Unified School District is agreeing to these roles?
Yep.
Okay, now do they have an approved governing document that says so?
It's tonight.
That's tonight. Their board meeting is this evening, and this is exactly the same thing that they will hopefully be approving. We had a meeting with TOCC's dual credit person and with a rep from Dr. Dennison's office. She was actually at a different meeting at the same time, but she sent Donna Manuelito. We went over this line by line with Donna and then with TOCC's rep and with me, and Karen was there too, and we talked through every single part of it. Then, when we talked, we were looking at TOCC's original draft, but we were penciling in, this is how we'll do things. Following that meeting, they sent me an editable copy. I made all of the edits from our conversation and a few more that kind of made sense. And then I sent it back to TOCC and to Dr. Dennison and her group for review. So this version of the MOA reflects any changes from the Unified School District, any changes from TOCC, of which there weren't any. The original draft I did send to AG Ritchie for his review. He made a few suggestions, but it was all about the numbering system, because TOCC's numbering system was all off on their copy, and so I went through and I fixed that. A few other things like taking TOCC's emblem off of it, and just a few little things like that. Adding the introduction, like that little part at the beginning, he requested that I add. I believe it's already gone through whatever process, the legal review that it has to go through for this Unified School District. Because I asked them, I said, do you need a legal review? And they said, we've already put it on our agenda to be approved tonight. So.
Okay, all right, and that leads to my last question in regard to the signatory line for attorneys. I think considering this is an MOU, there should be a signatory line for all parties' attorneys. Only because of the fact that this is an MOU that holds us and binds us to an agreement.
I'd be happy adding that, yeah.
Hi. Those are my only questions.
Yes.
Thank you. There might be one in there. 'cause
So,
I-
so they're looking at the same thing tonight, then, huh?
The exact same thing.
And they're gonna approve it, yeah?
Yeah, that's the plan, yeah.
3B.
3B, okay.
Yeah, the exact same copy. So it's already kind of been cleared through at least Dr. Dennison's level, and she's looking at the next level. TOCC's board meets sometime in April. I need to make sure I know exactly what time that is, but although we need to wait for their approval, we already have a full speed ahead from Paul to, once this is approved locally, we can already start having some planning meetings and kind of doing that.
Chair, if I could.
Yes, please.
Just on the comments, I do like the question that Regent interpretation asked in regard to 3B, this TOCC will cover the cost of tuition if funding permits. And I'm wondering if we could just add something in parentheses, that the cost of tuition for all TOCC/SCAC students, if permitted by state funding. Then it makes it very clear that it's because the state money is limited, it goes to TOCC, but they're supposed to treat both original TOCC students and our students equally. And I know this is just a quote, so maybe something there so that is very clear, because I kind of had the same initial reaction, like, does this mean that they take care of their own students first, and if state funding for dual credit, whatever's left, they'll then take care of our students? So in order to make sure that no one else
Sure,
reads
I can
it
make
that
that
way,
up.
just to add it on in a parentheses.
In fact, what's kind of interesting about that is that if you actually look at the webpage, the dual credit handbook, which is, for parents and students and things like that, actually says that parents are responsible for the cost of tuition. And then the MOU says this like kind of vague, we might pay for it and we might not. So yeah, I questioned that as well. It's my understanding that all students, in other words, there's no reason that the state would limit funding to just TOCC's students if these are valid agreements. But we can work on that language and say something along the lines of,
For both, students of both institutions equally.
okay, but the only problem is this then becomes a state document that allows TOCC to be funded, in which we aren't an institution of equal, that's where it gets interesting. Because the importance is that the state will pony up the money and fund all of us. And it's never really TOCC that's paying for the tuition. What actually happens, and Paul sort of explained this, essentially tuition isn't really charged.
Correct.
So so students aren't gonna be billed. We had that problem at Diné
Right.
College where even students
No,
were
it's
billed, and
horrible.
even though they shouldn't have
It's
been billed, and
horrible.
parents were upset, you know, like, what happened? You said we were covering this, so we don't want that to happen. So basically what happens is the college or TOCC simply eats the cost, offers the courses, and then at a
Gets
certain point
reimbursed.
after the year's over, the state is like, well, here's the money for that. And TOCC has offered to do the same for us, so they're not gonna charge our students tuition, other than, you know, kind of under the table, you know, for record-keeping purposes and for census data and all of those kinds of things. But we won't be expected to pay tuition, for example, for the fall semester. And we never would be, it would be the school district that would end up paying if something goes wrong. And that's part of the agreement, which is good, but something shouldn't go wrong. And they've agreed to this, the meeting with Dr. Dennison, she agreed to it.
Jacob, did you have something? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I could just provide a little bit of context. You know, one of the State Board of Education, when we developed the policy around dual credit. And again, I think there's some really important things that, you know, the college is doing in terms of entering into this agreement for a couple of reasons. One is that dual enrollment has really reduced, it creates an opportunity to improve the pipeline in that you can be in high school and start taking college credit. Previously, when that wasn't allowed, or when that didn't occur, there were many of us, you know, in our senior year, I don't know how many went through that same experience, but by the time you become a senior, you may only be taking 1 or 2 classes.
Yeah.
And, which is great when you're a senior, you class until 11 o'clock, and then you got the rest of the day to, you know, to yourself. But this really helps to improve that pipeline because you're not wasting time when you can start to take higher ed credit during that time in your senior year. So you kind of got to jump up college, or even if you go to career tech or something else, is that anytime you have, when you have a supply chain management or a pipeline, is that any time where you have a kink in that pipeline is where you're going to lose some momentum. And in this case, there's that opportunity for kids to opt out of education because they're kind of killing time and that they lose their motivation and they choose not to maybe start taking college classes and they end up in someplace else or end up working. But there's some incentive here that if the student's really motivated, they finished all of their high school credits, so graduate, but they only need a few high school credits for senior year, they can start taking college level credits, and it keeps them motivated, and then it keeps them engaged. They're already invested in their next level of education. So, you know, I know from a higher ed perspective, we're trying to change that concept of elementary, secondary education, higher education, or community college and university, just make it one system. You know, that you can opt out at any point, but you shouldn't have to just like graduate from high school and then decide if you're going to college. You should be able to do both. Which hopefully will reduce some of the dropout, or those that don't finish, or those that graduate but choose not to go out to some form of higher education. So there's some real incentives, you know, for students to start getting motivated because they're able to start getting college credit. When this started, there was even some that, that start early enough where there was a student that graduated from Gutfield Community College 1 week, and then the next week she got her diploma from high school. So, you know, she did both. I mean, she got enough credit to earn all of her credits towards an associate degree and actually completed that and graduated at the same time she got her high school diploma. So she was already 2 years ahead and was able to go into university, go beyond, you know, an associate degree. So there's really interesting things in terms of what dual credit can do to keep students motivated and keep them moving. And then the other is that there was a lot of debate at the state board level and with this debate over this issue of double dipping. You know, that once these kinds of programs are going to be offered, and from the state side is that who gets the money? Is the high school getting the money, or is the community college getting the money? And so they took some time to go back and kind of come up with a fairly complex formula in terms of what portion of the cost of it being paid into public education, public school for high school students, and what portion of money would go toward a community college. So as Lisa mentioned, this idea that they basically eat the cost and then the state will reimburse that difference is trying to, you know, it has come up as a way that they came up with a solution to, you know, address the issue of state pays for them in high school, state pays for them in college. How do you kind of balance that out so that they're not getting, that the state's not paying double? So, just background. But I do think it's a great opportunity, particularly for communities that, you know, struggle with having students to stay motivated, to think about going on to higher education. This is a great way and a great opportunity for San Carlos Apache College to start attracting those students in high school while they're still there and they can start taking credit. And they, you know, they get their student ID. They're in high school, but they're, you know, they now got a Scottsdale, San Carlos Apache College tribal, you know, student ID, or whenever you come up with a student ID, and it starts to get them motivated that they're already on track to take college classes.
Thank you, Jacob. Are there any other questions or comments on the MOU as was presented this evening?
Just comment, not about this one in particular, but do we have something going for Fort Thomas Unified School District?
Yeah, right before you came in, I was talking about that.
Okay.
I wanted to do this one first for lots of reasons, and so I do have plans to reach out there next, as well as to Gila County. The, if I say this the right way, the Assistant Superintendent of Gila County serves as the principal for the detention center's high school. And we were working together on another project, and he said, let's do dual credit, and I just said, let's just wait until we get this one in place, and then we can reach out, so yeah.
Perfect. Do we have a motion to either approve or accept the MOU as presented with the comments? Martha?
Jonathan, I motion to accept the dual enrollment memorandum of agreement with the amendments to sections 3B 1 to add language pertaining to the state funding if it's permitted. In addition to that, the amendment to section 5K 1 and 2 to add the names as announced by Dr. Yutzi. I believe that was Susan Poole and Misty Grosef. And also to the signatory line on the last page to add a signatory line for the San Carlos Unified School District attorney, and also the San Carlos Apache College attorney, and a line also for the Tohono O'odham Community College attorney. And that's my motion.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. Second, motion has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All oppose and abstain. Motion passes 4-0-0.
Second.
Marceline, okay, second. All right, thank you, everyone. Next item, 3C, Tolbert?
I don't know if we have something written for us here.
No, but we have the template that was sent to Jonathan as just like a example.
Well, the reason why I had this put on here tonight is because we had not an issue, but you know, a concern that you know, signatures. If Jonathan's not available to have signatures, then you know, who would be the next person in line? You know, it would be me, and then if I'm not available, who would be? And that's why we have this in here, so we can have it in place, for that reason. And we thought you would be, since you were the treasurer. Oh, treasurer, yeah. Oh,
Wrong Martha.
wrong. Yeah, so that's what, that's why we have that in there. So I don't know if we're all in agreement to it, or would it just stay at us two?
Martha?
Yeah, just, in my experience as the former board chair, we had that same issue early on, and thought our treasurer could sign, in the absence of myself and Jonathan, but it stopped at the two of us. And so that's protocol based on finances practice. And so, and that's only because of the fact that, there's too many lines to track, according to finance. And so, it just stopped at the chair and the vice. And however, if the vice was to sign, there had to be a memorandum from the chair stating the delegation for the vice chairman to sign. And so, that was the protocol. But-
Yeah, I remember that, and when you were unavailable, I signed, and it was sent back to me saying, where's your memorandum?
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
from finance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And C-Ray can hold those, so
So that's
if you were to text and say, send by delegation or something like that,
Yeah.
she can keep them on file.
Yeah, and I think that they accept electronic signatures as well, so
Yeah.
even if something is sent to Jonathan and asked to sign, he can print that out, sign it, and then scan it and email it back, so,
That's
I
what I've been
think
doing
that's-
so far is electronic signatures.
Yeah,
We haven't had too many pushback.
yeah, I think that's been the remedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just this, I know what you're talking about, Tolbert, there was one instance this week where I wasn't available to sign. I was at spring training, so.
I'm still here. I still got my glow up.
It's darker.
I was wondering, is it red? She's really red?
Very nice.
But I think, Tolbert, you and I can work this out, and then C-Ray, you already have a memo, because I've seen it, where
We just change the names?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we need any motion or action to vote on for this, if we have a unofficial policy until we get our own finance department. Because if we're going through the tribes still, they'll still shoot it back if it's not me or Tolbert.
I just want to remind us that in the past, we as a board that began from the beginning, we operated on that kind of, how do I say this, verbal agreement, and then we came across, where is it in writing? Where was it approved in the meeting?
I do recall.
Yeah.
Why don't I do this? If we want to table this for April, I can work with C-Ray to get something official in writing, and then we can vote on it then. But in the meantime, I will be more vigilant in communicating my location.
I wouldn't want to be bothered too. Just serious.
Back and wait.
Jonathan's like, see right.
Oh, found out.
Now that spring training's over, it should not be an issue.
Is it over?
Yeah,
To bring out the
last game was Sunday.
Okay.
Opening day is Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you everyone for moving quickly on these action items as presented. The next item is 4A, which is the next tribal council meeting, April 3rd. I will not be able to attend that. Tolbert, I don't know if you will, because there have been, there was an email I received from the chairman and A.G. Ritchie about formalizing our board to now be 5 instead of 7. They sent all the they're still communicating back and forth. It might be asked about that specific council meeting. I can work with you, Tolbert, to prepare a response,
Okay.
because I know I won't be there. We have budget meetings all week. But anyone else on the board who is able to attend, please do so. I know it's in the middle of the day and you never know when they're gonna call you. I was here for the last board meeting, just waiting, or, yeah, council meeting, waiting and waiting and waiting, and then I had to leave, because I had my own gaming board meeting that night I had to go to.
Two of my bosses sit on the council too, so I don't know how they gonna feel if he's sitting there all day, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, you can just shoot me a text, hey, we're up next, and I can just walk over.
Okay, we'll work on
You can maybe do
logistics.
that
Yeah.
this week, we could take turns
Mhm.
sitting, like waiting.
And then the next regular meeting that we have scheduled is April 9th at 5:30 PM.
And, we will be at HLC, so that will not.
Okay, so that date does not work, because Dr. Almada and Dr. Yutzi will not be in attendance.
You'll be returning, but not until late that night, and then on the
Until
next
late
day,
at night.
into
Right.
Tucson.
What other dates work for you? Also, we want to consider, did we hear back from TOCC about the joint board?
Not yet.
Because I know we prepared some dates for that.
The last I
I
heard,
have April 14th.
Yeah, as the preferred date.
yeah. The last I heard about that was from Vicki Hobbs. This was Monday of last week, and she sent me an email and she said, sorry, I won't be able to come out to SCAC today. And we had not planned for her to come out to visit, so that was kind of an interesting first beginning of the email. And she said, I'm on travel this week and I will try to get the dates for the board meeting. That's the last I've heard. And I was like, okay, have a nice trip.
The 16th?
Does the 16th work for that's tax day? You guys haven't done your taxes yet.
An incentive to get them done.
We can do a quick meeting. I like tonight's format. I like that we're moving quickly. I think it's in our best interest to get everyone out by 8 at the latest, just because people who are traveling, and also full days tomorrow for everybody. So we could do another evening meeting, and thank you everyone for being here. We can start on time and end on time as well. Does the 16th work for everyone? 5:30,
Works for me.
tax day?
Actually, the next day, no?
I have the next day as well.
Yeah.
17th.
I don't know, it's on my calendar as text.
Maybe
In
go
other
ahead.
words, for
Maybe-
you to file
Maybe.
taxes on
Maybe
the
go
day
ahead and
before.
Androids.
Okay,
I might be in New Mexico on that day.
okay. Would you have the ability and even the desire to call in? I mean, I don't know if you're on vacation or not.
If my goal is to be back the next day, I'll probably be in the plane,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
What other dates work unless we have a quorum for the 16th?
The following Monday, the 23rd, doesn't work, because that's the Diné College thing. The 23rd doesn't work.
What if we do it on tax day, according to Android? The 17th. I mean, tonight's a Tuesday night, it seemed to work out.
I'm available.
Gail, do you have any input on dates that work for you?
Yeah, April 17th looks good for me.
Okay, works for me too.
Yeah, I'll just tell my clients not to come in that day. And file extensions.
I'm gonna guess it's okay, because I left my work phone at work.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's tentatively put April 17th. We'll have call-in options available, we'll have in-person options available, same start time, 5:30 PM. Jacob and Dr. Hesse, is that something that you'd be able to attend?
Yes, I can make that date.
Wonderful.
Mr. Jacob, yes, amazingly, that's the one meeting that they have available.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. We will lock that date in, and if there are any changes, please communicate that to me and to C-Ray, and we will adjust as accordingly. The next item, which is added to the agenda, was 4C, and that was Easter holiday closure. Dr. Amata talked about it briefly. TOCC is closed on, is it this Friday?
This Friday.
This
Correct.
Friday? Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Also, the tribe is closed,
Correct.
and so to be in alignment with that, SCAC will be closed as well.
And just to note, we also have no classes on Friday, so it won't impact any contact hours or
Okay,
anything like
that's
that.
And then considering we already approved our calendar, does that need board action? I think we approved our calendar to
Yeah.
not include Easter. Yeah,
We do know that at least on TOCC's end, this was just an email from Paul following along with the tribal vote, I guess, early this week to make that holiday.
Their tribe is off on Friday too?
Yes, but it was just announced, the same way that here.
Ours was
it
just
did the
announced.
same thing too, so.
And I think if we do decide, we make a board action, so they can just put in an Easter holiday, I think they had the option of doing it either Friday or Monday, but they chose Friday for the council meeting.
Really?
Yeah.
so the HR policy, the HR manual states the Monday after the holiday. So since Easter falls on Sunday, then Monday is a regular work day, whereas they've changed that to make it Friday.
I see.
So Monday we're back to work. That's my understanding. I haven't seen the memo on it, but
I work Friday.
Me too.
Every day's a holiday.
Yeah, when you can go to spring training. Okay, so there's the question of board approval. We could just amend a motion from 3A, or we could have its own approval.
And my
Motion.
only, I'm just thinking about this, because this is a really interesting question. We aren't actually asking that the academic calendar, in the grand scheme of things, be permanently changed. Like, we're not asking for this next year yet, if that makes sense.
But,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but the calendars need to be approved every year,
Mhm.
so I think that it is an item that needs.
Or, Dr. Hesse or Jacob, do you have any input on this, given your experience?
This is Maria Hesse. The only thought I have is if it makes any difference in terms of your payroll processing, like which employees are paid or not paid or anything like that, then it might be more of a concern. But if essentially, you're all okay with just giving the state off for employees, I think as a board you can do that without it becoming an ongoing obligation to employees or anything else.
and if I may,
Mr. Jacob,
Jonathan,
I guess I would echo those thoughts here, that it isn't necessarily an academic calendar issue, primarily because you don't have classes on that day anyway. I know that at the ASU, there are times when, prior to a holiday, I think each department has some discretion in terms of when they let people go home early. And, there really is much consideration in terms of the fact that at least the majority of the employees that I work with are exempt status anyway, they're not on an hourly. So if they're, you know, it's more of a decision of the office to choose to send people home early, or I know this is more of a full day, but it doesn't sound like it impacts your academic calendar.
Martha?
Yeah, the only reason why I mentioned it is because when the academic calendar was presented to us as a board, we had made it, I thought, clear that the tribe grants holidays, administrative leaves, and so on and so forth, and to its employees, and that the college needs to understand that they're separate than the tribe, and that they're an academic arm of the tribe, and so therefore the academic calendar as approved or was presented to the board would be approved, and these were the only times that the college was gonna close, which is highlighted in bold in each semester. And so, considering that Easter wasn't even considered during that time of review, if it needs to be amended now to include an Easter holiday break, then it needs to be added to the academic calendar, in my opinion, because, again, the college is an academic arm of the tribe, and it's treated as so. Just for example, the enterprises of the tribe, such as the Pachigo Casino, they have their own calendar that they impose upon their employees, and they're working both Friday and Monday. The hospital's the same way as well. The San Carlos Housing Authority is the same as well. You know, they're arms of the tribe, just as the college is as well.
Mark Boyd?
My experience is just that anytime if it's a paid, like for example, it's a paid holiday, then it becomes a board approved, you know.
And that makes sense to me, hearing what you said, Martha, and then Marlene as well. I do remember we talked about it, like the times when the tribe will, the day of or the day prior, give their employees time off for whether it's basketball games or anything else. It would not affect us as an enterprise of the tribe.
And I agree with that completely. However, the tribe's finance, for example, on other days that the college is closed, when the tribe might not be, we have to put down regular time. Like, they won't, in other words, it only goes one way, if that makes sense, right now with finance. This was true for the board-approved college closure over the Christmas break. We could not use holiday time for that because we are on the tribe's calendar. So I'm just saying, it works in one advantage, but not the other way around. Yeah.
Martha?
And it's my understanding that that could have been remedied if they just received a board action document stating that that was what was happening. And that's the information I got from the payroll department and also the controller.
That was provided multiple times by us to them, and I
And
know,
I'm just repeating what I had been given.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that we probably need to quickly act on, and again, I say this with the umpteenth times that I've said it before, is that we need to create our HR policies and our finance policies and procedures. Because we're running into the same situation as we're running into, it seems like. But, you know, the way I see it now is that it just needs to be approved today.
Yeah.
You all are requesting for the 30th of March of 2018 to be considered a holiday. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we do have a motion to amend the academic calendar to include April 6th, 2018, I'm sorry, not April 6th, March 30th as a holiday, and it's second. One second here. All those in favor To that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose? And abstain?
I oppose.
Okay. Motion passes 3-1-0. So, we did accomplish it, we just did it formally. Perfect. So that's all we have on the agenda, unless there is a need for executive session, board members? Okay. We are seeing, nodding that we will go into executive session. We'll need a motion and a second for that. And in the meantime, we'll dismiss, C-Ray and Dr. Yutzi, Dr. Amata, please grab some food. It appears there's food there.
Before we go into executive session, it'll probably be noted for the record what that item is, and for the motion to suspend the rules to add it to the agenda.
Okay,
Though it's already recorded here.
No, there has to be a topic noted under executive session.
and it can be a broad topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, I don't know how to make it broad, but specific is that we still need to come up with standards to evaluate our president.
Okay, yeah.
Jonathan, this is Jake, unless you need us, we can, exit the call.
Do we need, do you think?
No, guess, let's just be short.
Okay, thank you, Jacob and Dr. Hesse for your time. We'll need a motion to go into executive session.
First, if I may,
Thanks,
motion
everybody,
to.
good night.
Good night.
Good night, thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you, Jacob
Good
and
night.
Maria. I motion to suspend the rules to add, onto the agenda, item 5A, the evaluation standards for, Dr. Amata.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to suspend the rules to allow this executive session item for evaluating Dr. Amata to be added to the agenda. Do we have a second?
A second with a comment?
Okay,
Yeah, I'll second it, but, I'm thinking if, we are gonna add it in this manner on the agenda and then it gets approved, we all need to come to the understanding that there needs to be a topic there.
okay.
Yeah, okay. That just kind of complicates things.
We do have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Is that opposed, Gail?
No, it's aye,
Okay,
in favor.
thank you. And those who abstain, motion passed 4-0-0. Now I will need to have a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion to go in, can I get a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to go into executive session. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those who abstain? Motion passed 4-0-0. We are now in executive session at 3:68.
6:38.
I'm sorry, 6:38. 6:38.
Give me a little bit of time so I
Yeah.
can get the videos.
Okay, C-Ray is still collecting items and in the room. In the meantime, those who are here, please grab some food.
Did we vote on going into executive session?
Yes, we did.
The vote was,
4-0-0.
okay,
You motion?
yeah, and she seconded it, but I don't know if there was a vote.
Yeah.
Otherwise, okay. And I said aye, I bet.
Yeah.